For over 40 years, Vince McMahon was untouchable. He transformed professional wrestling from a niche sideshow into a billion-dollar global empire. He wasn't just a promoter, he was the architect of the WWE's rise, the man who made Hulk Hogan a household name and who helped shape pop culture through blood, sweat, and total control. But that control is slipping. In early 2024, everything changed. A former WWE employee filed a federal lawsuit against Vince McMahon, accusing him of sex trafficking, psychological manipulation, and repeated sexual assault, all allegedly covered up by company insiders. The lawsuit also names WWE and former executives as enablers, people who allegedly turned a blind eye, silenced victims with hush money, and helped protect Vince's image at all costs. It's not just a scandal, it's a reckoning. The same man who orchestrated The Undertaker's streak, Stone Cold's rebellion, and The Rock's rise is now being called a predator in a federal court. This isn't a tabloid rumour. These are legal documents, graphic testimony, and a pattern of abuse that allegedly spanned decades. The fans who once cheered for Mr. McMahon are now watching in disbelief. Headlines are everywhere, stockholders are rattled, sponsors are backing away, and for the first time in his career, Vince has no script to hide behind. The king of kayfabe is now trapped in reality, and the mask has finally slipped. Long before the scandals, there was the empire. Vince McMahon took over his father's regional wrestling promotion in the early 80s and broke every rule that came before him. He didn't just want to run wrestling, he wanted to dominate it. He poached talent from rival territories, signed exclusive deals with major networks, and used pay-per-view like a weapon. By the late 90s, WWE had become a cultural juggernaut. The Attitude Era blurred the lines between TV and chaos, and Vince wasn't just the boss behind the scenes anymore, he was front and centre. Mr. McMahon, the villainous CEO character, became just as iconic as the wrestlers he managed. He took chair shots, he screamed into microphones, he even wrestled his own talent. Fans loved to hate him, and Vince loved the attention. Behind the scenes, he built a monopoly. WCW bought, ECW gone. Competition was crushed, and in the boardroom, Vince ruled with fear and obsession. He rewrote scripts at the last minute, fired employees mid-flight, and demanded absolute loyalty. To the outside world, he was a billionaire genius, but insiders knew nothing happened in WWE without Vince's approval. And now, that obsession with control is exactly what's on trial. Because the empire he built might be the same one that protected him for years. The lawsuit wasn't vague, it wasn't subtle, it was a bombshell, with graphic details too disturbing to ignore. The plaintiff, a former WWE employee, alleges that Vince McMahon used his power to trap her in a cycle of sexual exploitation, control, and silence. According to the documents, she was manipulated into sexual acts, trafficked to other high-profile individuals, and forced to perform in situations she never consented to, all under the threat of losing her job or worse. She claimed Vince told her directly, "You belong to me." It wasn't just emotional abuse, it was allegedly systemic. Scheduled encounters, secret payments, and a toxic pattern that played out over years. The most shocking detail? She wasn't the only one. Multiple former employees, wrestlers, staff, backstage workers began coming forward anonymously and publicly. Some spoke of hush money, others described similar experiences of manipulation and fear. And there was one common thread: Vince was the one pulling the strings. For decades, fans saw him as a character, brash, over the top, a wrestling villain. But now, the lines between fiction and real-life abuse were blurring fast. The character was never an act, it was a mask. And finally, the truth was pushing through. The allegations weren't just about one man's abuse, they exposed a system that allowed it to happen. According to the lawsuit, key executives inside WWE knew what Vince McMahon was doing and stayed silent. There were hush money payments, some in the millions. Non-disclosure agreements were signed under pressure. Victims were paid off, written out of storylines, or mysteriously let go. And behind every check, behind every NDA, was a signature of silence. In 2022, it was revealed that Vince had personally paid over $12 million to multiple women to cover up allegations of misconduct. But even that was just the surface. The internal investigation launched by WWE's board? It ended quietly. Vince retired, only to return months later like nothing had happened. Some board members resigned, others looked the other way. Even when federal investigators started circling, WWE pushed forward with a major merger. Teaming up with UFC under a new parent company, TKO Group, billions were at stake. And protecting the brand mattered more than protecting the victims. This wasn't a case of one powerful man hiding in the shadows. It was a machine, fueled by fear, fame, and silence. And now, that machine is finally under the spotlight. The moment the lawsuit hit the press, WWE's world began to fracture. Sponsors panicked, investors called emergency meetings, fans were stunned. Stock in TKO Group, the new powerhouse formed by WWE and UFC, plunged within hours. Brands started distancing themselves. PR teams scrambled to rewrite statements. And suddenly, the man once hailed as the genius behind wrestling's golden era became its greatest liability. Vince McMahon officially resigned from the TKO board, effective immediately. No press conference, no farewell, just silence. But the internet wasn't silent. Former wrestlers, ex-employees, and long-time insiders came forward with cryptic posts, support for the victims, or their own horror stories. WWE, once known for controlling every message, couldn't control this one. Public trust was evaporating. Chants of "you screwed her" started echoing at live events. Social media turned into a wildfire, and for the first time, fans weren't just turning on Vince. They were questioning the company itself. How deep did the cover-up go? Who else knew? And how long had this been protected? The McMahon name, once synonymous with wrestling royalty, now carried a stain that no scripted redemption arc could clean. For years, Vince McMahon built a legacy based on power, ambition, and spectacle. WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, the Attitude Era, the WWE Hall of Fame. He wasn't just a businessman, he was the puppet master, the villain, the face of an entire generation of wrestling. But now, that legacy lies in ruins. The fans who once chanted his name now ask, how long has this been going on? How many were hurt? How deep does this darkness run? For some, the memories of their childhood heroes now feel tainted. For others, it's a grim reminder that fame often hides something far uglier. WWE says it's moving on, new leadership, a new era, but McMahon's shadow still looms, because no matter how many titles were won, how many pyros lit up arenas, Vince McMahon's final storyline wasn't written in the ring. It's being written in courtrooms, headlines, and testimonies, and for once, it's not scripted. Power built Vince McMahon's empire, but silence protected it. Now, the truth is out, and the damage can't be undone. The question isn't just what happens to Vince, but what happens to the system that let this go on for so long. If you made it this far, ask yourself, was this the legacy wrestling fans deserved, or was it all just one big performance? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want the raw truth behind celebrity scandals, subscribe, because next time, it could be someone else they never expected to fall.